Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on today's webinar. My name is Bethany and I'm the Relationship and Engagement Manager here at UMI, and today I'm hosting this webinar for EM3 Growth Hub. Before we dive in, I would like to give you a little background on the Growth Hub in case you're new. They are a fully funded business support service providing advice, coaching, webinars and signposting to SMEs. The mission is to help you recover, adapt and develop sustainable growth after COVID and become more productive and profitable. All businesses at any stage of the development can access and benefit from the Enterprise M3 Growth Hub services, including the Information Bank, the Resource Network, and the Helpline. Additionally, there's a specialist growth advice targeted at businesses operating within key sectors, and that's a free personal service for businesses associated with the Enterprise M3 key sectors, and that aims to connect businesses with experts to help their growth plans. So on that note, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest speaker today, Jane Smith.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. Can you help me? Oh, here we are, share screen. Okay. Right, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and a belated Happy New Year. My name is Jane Smith, and I'm delighted to be with you this morning and to talk to you about maximising customer potential and how to get more business. Just to give you a bit of background, my career has been dominated by sales and leadership, and my career journey began just over about 30 years ago in the hotel and leisure business, working in Stratford-upon-Avon, probably one of the most visited places in the UK, if not in Europe. From there, I travelled to London and I found myself working at the Four Seasons Park Lane, which at the time was probably one of the most coveted hotels in the city. I was lucky. I then returned to the Midlands and began a long-term relationship with Hilton International. And it was a game changer as we started to learn about supply and demand, trends, market segments. And I was fortunate enough to become one of the first revenue managers in the UK, learning how to yield room space, maximise revenue and maximise profit. With this knowledge, I flipped over to the other side and became a director of sales and marketing and had the opportunity to work for Hyatt International, leading a sales team that had an appetite for revenue and most of all market share, working in partnership with venues like the ICC, the NEC, and playing host to prime ministers, presidents, and celebrities. I've received a huge amount of training in that company, and they trained me as a director of sales and marketing. And eventually they asked me if I'd like a career change, and I decided to delve into the world of training and business consultancy. Initially working for a small business and then taking a leap of faith and started my own business in 2013, namely Jane Smith Training. With no real experience of running a small business, I had no idea where the next few years would take me, but I've been extremely fortunate to have been involved in some amazing projects working with a variety of companies, from the Venetian in Macau, the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, the Burj Al Arab in Dubai, and Eden Rock in St. Bart's, and anywhere in between. Meeting fabulous people along the way and traveling across the globe, creating tailor-made workshops for both sales and leadership, including topics such as negotiation, account management, emotional intelligence, time management, influencing strategies, and much more. Go back 365 days and my business was about to enjoy another record year. But like many of us here today, the global pandemic literally brought my business to an immediate halt. And it was only then did I realize I actually had the best job in the world. But as we all know, the hotel and leisure industry has been one of the hardest hit. And I spent a lot of time giving out virtual tissues to clients who are literally watching their businesses collapse before their eyes. For months, I had my own head in the sand, and then I reached out to the Growth Hub and I connected with Ian Martin. And through some conversations that were tough, but also supportive, I am gradually bringing my business back to life by reaching out to new markets and developing an online product. That said, the last few months have not been easy and there is still a lot to do, but I have confidence that 2021 might not be the great year, but it has the potential to be a good year. However, It became clear that having spent the last few years not doing any proactive sales or marketing, just living off highly profitable key accounts, I had to change quickly, drag out my skills as a director of sales and marketing, and go back to basics and dig deep into my sales background. And that's what brings me to today in terms of this presentation. The current situation has highlighted and possibly accelerated the need to have a business that can move quickly, even change direction, which in turn means we need to have more time to scrutinize and review our own sales strategy. It should be constantly challenged and ensure it still fits into an ever-changing business environment. For this presentation, I've decided to just use 3 simple steps. First of all, the actual sales platform. This is for us to just take a snapshot of how our business is actually performing. And then we go into the account management side, starting to learn where our accounts have opportunities in business, but also start to understand where are the risks. And then the final piece of the puzzle is actually the principles of negotiation. Before I actually get into the nitty-gritty, I want to just ask you a few questions of your own. How often do you actually review and analyze and just look at the current situation and take time to drill down a little more? In other words, how are we performing versus our sales strategy? How do we know we have the right business? Where is the business coming from? Which market segments or revenue streams are performing? What criteria do we use to measure our top key clients? And how much market share are they giving us? Do we want more, or actually, do we want less? How good is the information that we have about our top clients, and are we in danger of losing them? Who is our competition and what are they doing? And how resilient are we? In other words, if we lose business, how strong is the pipeline? And finally, are we generating budgeted profit? At what percentage do we convert? Or are we just running around like busy fools? And perhaps should we actually walk away? None of these questions are rocket science, but sometimes we get so lost in the day job and never give ourselves a moment to reflect. Someone asked me a few months back, if you're in a car and you're driving, what should you look at? Immediately what's in front of you or what lies ahead? Clearly, the answer is both, but experience tells me that the current situation, some of us are just focusing on the here and now, and the long term is just getting left behind. So let's get started into the detail. The first thing I'm going to talk you through is the sales platform. Some of you may be familiar with this concept, but it does no harm to review this, and it can be a tool that's relevant for B2B or B2C. If you visualize your status of your current situation, you'll be able to see what total market is available to you. You can see that this box actually says total market defined, and that means how many clients have you actually got available to you in your current market. But you can split it into 3 categories. The first one is the market platform. This is starting to look at defined suspects that you haven't yet worked on, but you know have some sort of potential for your business. Then you go to the working platform, and these are clients that perhaps you've been in contact with, but you haven't yet actually got them to a point where they're converting. And then you've got your buying platform. So these are your existing clients, they're your niche clients, and these are the people that are already starting to give you business. Like I said, this is a great tool to visualize your business, and more importantly, it's a guide that can be used in terms of direction, action, activities, and most importantly, making the best use of our time. That said, it's not always an even split. Depending on the market and how your business is performing, the emphasis will change. If you're about to launch a business or change direction, your focus would very much be on the marketing platform, looking at ways to stimulate our existing business. Looking at ways to stimulate the business, as our existing business would be ridiculously small. However, there are times when we overburden ourselves with trying to find new business, when our existing business has a massive potential and it's just sitting under our nose. Constantly trying to attract new clients can be exhausting, and it's not always efficient use of our time. But if we have an established business with loyal clients, focus would very much be on the buying platform, generating ideas, building stronger relationships within the account, identifying different revenue streams. I encourage you all to take a moment and have a critical view of your existing business and check the strength of your relationships and also your pipeline. It will perhaps raise some questions about your sales strategy and areas where you need to focus and take a general stock take. Questions that you need to ask, is the market platform actually happening? Is activity happening with the right people? What are your conversion ratios from the market platform to the working platform? What are your conversion ratios from the working platform to the buying platform? Do we have the most effective sales activities? Are we maximizing the use of all of our sales resources? Do we know actually sometimes when we need to walk away and give up because they're just not going to convert? And then finally, do we actually need to defend what we have? Is the competition out there and do we need to brick wall it? Or is there the opportunity to actually increase our market share? One thing I've learned over the last few years, and especially over the last few months, is that the key elements to getting most out of business is business relationships. I'm sure that some of you work with CRMs or some sort of database. If you look at an account, how many influential people or decision makers do you know? How often do you talk to them? What do you talk to them about? Or are some of them just left dormant? If I look at one of my top performing clients, I know probably over 100 people at all levels, from CFOs, CEOs, VP sales, GMs, sales managers, and the operational team. And this puts me in a great position as it creates loyalty. But not only that, I have a great understanding what is happening within the business. This next slide is another way to understand who you know within your organization and how often you need to make contact with your clients. You will see that it's got two axes. It's got influence on the decision and strength of the relationship. Ideally, you want to have strong relationships with key decision makers. If you don't, it's another action that needs to be addressed. If we only know one or two people within the organization, then clearly we're going to be sitting in the danger zone. This leads me very nicely onto the next model that I would like to show you. And it's something that I call the reverse SWOT. It's very much based on existing business, accounts or clients that make up a high percentage of your business. SWOTs look like, each year we look at our SWOT and each year we identify our own internal strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. However, this model turns everything upside down and gives us a moment to take a closer look at the internal workings of our existing clients. Let me explain. Probably during the month of September, October, you start to put your business plan together for the following year. Business owners, MDs, VPs decide that a 20% increase in revenue is acceptable. But I would ask the question, why? What is that based on? I would challenge any managing director to explain their rationale and how realistic this is. Clearly, it's all about bottom line, but a flat percentage increase gives you nowhere to go in a negotiation. Some of our clients might like to give us 20% increase. Some potentially would give us less, but do you know what? Some could actually give us more. As a salesperson, I never saw the importance of research, but actually it's the foundation of any sales strategy, and the internet has given us an open book. So where do we start? Firstly, you need to establish who are your key clients. Why are they key clients? Is it revenue or profitability? And for the moment, I will leave that up to you to decide. That's a discussion for another day. But as you identify each client, you can take them one by one and start to build up a picture of business and how it will affect your business. Eventually, they should dovetail together and give you your target revenue. It's a bit like Tetris. So Firstly, let's look at the slide itself. You will see at the top here, you've got opportunities with the client, then you've got threats, then you've got strengths, and you've got weaknesses. So, do you truly know what's happening in the business of your clients? Do you know what opportunities they have? Is their market growing? Are they launching a new product? Are they developing an overseas strategy? Are they recruiting more people? Will a fluctuating exchange rate be of a benefit to them? All of these questions are important, and we need to understand their potential. As we go through it, alarm bells should start to ring loudly, as there's a massive opportunity which can be turned into our opportunity. But then we need to clearly think about threats, probably one of the things that we underestimate in business. Do we truly identify the risk? As clients are disappearing, are their clients disappearing? Is there a lack of innovation? Will Brexit tie them up in knots? What is their competition doing? Are teams leaving because they're unhappy? All of these questions will help you to realize the lifespan of one of your key clients. Once you've answered these questions, you can then start to identify strengths and weaknesses within your own business and how you can maximize on the opportunities and also minimize the threats. Do you have great relationships with key decision makers and influencers? Are your team skilled enough to have the right process and systems to maximize opportunities? And finally, the weakness. Are we out of date? If we only know one person in the business and they leave, where does that leave us? And what are our competition doing? At the end of your analysis, you can actually formulate your own plan. What actions do you need to take to maximize on the opportunities? And how can you help your client to minimize threats to their business? Where are the gaps? What actions do you need to take to strengthen your business? Do you actually need to look at your team organization? Do you need to put in some proper succession planning? Do you actually need to do some training? And are your process and systems up to the job? For each of these accounts, you can then start to create smart account objectives. And these can be total revenue or profitability or market share. But again, it will help you to formulate your plan of action, both in the long term and the short term. Remember though, this activity isn't a one-hit wonder. It's an organic tool that grows and changes each time you learn a new piece of information. You need to add it to your client portfolio. It puts you in a very powerful position, and it helps you to maintain a healthy business and also build relationships. This is when a CRM actually comes into its own. No longer is it just a database that holds names and contact details, but it starts to hold valuable information. And if you have a team where it is visible to everybody, then everybody can see the information rather than just sitting in someone's head. This information is truly valuable. Should we ever need to negotiate a new contract, it puts us in a position where we've got the balance of power. It also helps us to have better preparation when it comes to negotiation because the information is already out there. So this brings me to the final piece of the puzzle. Before I dive into this, I want to just talk about the principles of negotiation. And I thought, do you know what? Actually, I'm going to give you a case study that might just help us see how all of this works together. Some of us here today, I'm sure, have had high-level jobs in the blue chip corporate market and most likely have negotiated large contracts. However, the principles of negotiation sometimes get lost in the small business world. And yet, without a profitable agreement we can expose our own businesses. For the purpose of this case study, I'm going to introduce you to the main characters. Firstly, the commercial team. The commercial team was at a 5-star hotel situated in the centre of a large city in the Midlands. The other commercial team was based at the convention centre, and it had this unique bridge link to the hotel. There was also the procurement team from an international bank, a very valued client of the hotel and one of their top 10 suppliers. And finally, there was a booking agency who worked on behalf of the bank and the hotel to coordinate events and would normally take about a 10% commission of the total value of the booking. The bank had booked via the hotel 50 rooms from Sunday to Friday, from the first Sunday in January to the end of April on a dinner, bed and breakfast basis. Each week it would be a different group of delegates. They'd also booked space in the convention centre for training a new software product for 50 people over the same period. Total value was about 250,000 for the hotel and 250,000 for the convention centre. On the 21st of December, the hotel sales team was in contact with the agency looking for rooming lists and, most importantly, a signed contract from the bank. On the 23rd of December, they received a call from the agency to cancel the whole event. It was going to be a bleak Christmas. The team at the convention centre had the Christmas party that day, and needless to say, they were slightly worse for wear when they were informed of the cancellation. Screams and expletives could be heard down the phone, followed by, "We're going to get them for full cancellation." The director of sales and marketing was somewhat cautious and advised that before any decisions were made, we actually didn't have any signed contract. The change in events was gently communicated to the general manager, who went into some sort of meltdown, and the sales team started to hurriedly find a solution. Actually, we did, or they did. The agency had sent a letter of intent, and this could be used to negotiate a cancellation fee. And a date was set for all parties to have a summit meeting at the convention centre for the first week of January. Needless to say, the Christmas holidays were somewhat overshadowed by the forthcoming meeting. A great deal of preparation went into the negotiation. Each party had used the traditional wish, want, walk method, i.e. this is the starting point, this is what is acceptable, and this is the place where we walk away and actually put it in the hands of our lawyers. 6 hours later, after the meeting, all parties left, shaking hands, and were happy with the result. So what was the outcome? The bank agreed that they needed to pay a cancellation fee as they wished to move the event to an internal venue in Scotland, and even with that cancellation fee, it was going to be a cheaper event. The hotel and the convention centre agreed that they would make every effort to resell the space, and the value of the new business would be deducted from the total. And the agency agreed, well, yeah, they'll take 5% commission of the total cancellation fee. The negotiation worked on due to two things. Firstly, a strong relationship between all four parties and the willingness to let go of principle and concede where required. The bank needed the hotel and the convention centre for future business. It was a central point in the UK. The hotel and the convention centre wanted to maintain a good relationship with the agency and the bank. And the agency, well, they had additional business from other banks that could help to replace the lost business. You may have guessed at this point in time that I was that director of sales and marketing, and I was at that meeting. And although it took place over 10 years ago, it's still imprinted on my brain as probably one of the most successful but equally stressful days of my career. No matter if the business is large or small, the principle is the same and requires preparation and more preparation. Armed with your research, you can start to put a package together, not just based around price, but overall revenue and profitability, and to develop a future relationship. Before we go into any negotiation, we need to have thought about the following. And we can use a good wish, want, walk template for this. If you have a wish, maybe you want to increase your business by 20% in terms of price. Your want might be 10%, but actually if it's anything less than 5%, you're going to walk away. Market share, you might want 75%, or you might accept 50%. Anything less than 10%, you might want to walk away. You then start to build it up again, and you start to think about payment terms. Do you want payment up front? Do you want 50% payment, or actually are you going to agree payment terms? And then if there's a cancellation involved, is there 30 days, 20 days, or no cancellation? This wish, want, walk template can be based on any of what we call our negotiable issues, but it's a great way to build up a package. And actually what it does, it gives you a bandwidth to work with. Think of it as an elastic band. If you only have price in mind, the danger is that you will both walk away from the deal. A negotiation becomes a true negotiation when you have more than one item to look at. And the result can be a profitable agreement. And it's that old cliche of getting to a win-win. Clearly, no one in this topic today had a global pandemic in their SWOT analysis at the start of 2020. But one thing this last year has taught me is to never stop networking, never stop communicating with your clients, even if it's just a Zoom coffee. The strength of our business and our relationships, it needs to be constantly reviewed. And that is the key to our success. And that is it. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Jane. It's been great. We've actually had a question come through, which is, what tips would you give on building and maintaining good client relationships?
What I've just done over the last few months is literally just picked up the phone, set up Zoom meetings, emailed them, and not just about business, about all sorts of topics over the last year, just kind of using my emotional intelligence, I would say, to support them in their own world, because some of them have gone through some really hard times over the last few months. I think the other thing is as well is to really get under the skin of their business. So really understand what their business is about. And if you can do that, it puts you on a level playing field with them to be able to talk to them about their business. And it gives you a real understanding of what their needs are. And it's proved its worth, because on New Year's Eve, I actually received the biggest bouquet of flowers from one of my clients just to say, thank you very much for being there this year. Not that she's been able to give me any business, and that was fine, but it just proved that our relationship was really strong.
Yeah, that's really nice. Like building a mutual relationship.
Yeah. And it's also about knowing different people within the organization. So I've got a relationship with everybody in that organization. And, if I go into a sales meeting, they treat me as one of their own. They don't treat me as a client or a supplier. I'm actually part of that organization. So it's a partnership.
Yeah, love that. Someone else has asked, what have you found hardest in refocusing your own business?
Oh my God, where do I start? Oh my God, blimey. I am a face-to-face trainer. I am a face-to-face business consultant. My whole world is based on just building relationships, partnerships, getting to know people. That's what I love. I love the energy. I love the energy of traveling, getting on a plane, going somewhere new. And the fact that that has stopped and somebody or something has made me stay within these four walls over the last year has been a nightmare. So I've really had to dig deep. I've had to really sort of think, okay, what else can I learn there? What else can I do to motivate myself? And I've done loads of webinars. I've done loads of learning. I've taken a leap of faith. I've put my stuff online. I've had to re-energize myself. And actually, I was talking to a client the other day. I think actually I'm a much richer person from coming out of it at the other end. I've learned a lot over the last year. I've learned about a whole new business or a whole new world of SMEs, which I didn't even know existed, to be honest. I didn't even know there was business in the UK, to be honest, because I was never here. I was away 200 days of the year. So I've learned a lot over the last year. And I have to say as well, big shout out to Ian, because he's really helped me with that over the last year. He's pushed me gently from behind. Yeah.
Anna said, thank you, Jane, really supportive and helpful. How do you internally sell to enable non-sales colleagues to understand the needs of the sales process?
Another great question. I suppose actually it goes back, it is a cliche, but it goes back to that old thing of coaching. And if we've got really good coaching skills are great in business. And I know that touches a little bit on leadership, but coaching, team motivation, influencing strategies to get everybody to a common vision, getting people to have some accountability for what they do. And it's all about motivation as well. So getting people to have real accountability, maybe having some really genuine, great KPIs in the business so that they can see how they're being measured in the business. They've got a purpose in the business as well. And, actually then that is celebrated when that is achieved. But I think it needs to start off with some good coaching, some good one-to-ones. They need to understand their value in the business and what it means to actually bring sales in, because everybody benefits at the end of the day, don't they? No one's going to benefit from, great sales. So it's about just coaching, I think, initially. Setting up some really good KPIs always helps as well.
Great. And Elliot has asked, what is your thoughts on using e-shots, updated e-brochures, etc. via a CRM system as a way of keeping your name in the frame with larger businesses with multiple contacts?
This is a good question, because I've had that conversation this week, actually. Oh, wow. So on New Year's Eve, I actually did my own mail shot, sadly, because I was sitting here on my own. I thought, what am I going to do? Oh, I'll do a mail shot. And I did send it out and I got some good interaction from it. The only thing is, and I think at this moment in time, we are being bombarded with all sorts of email stuff. It's actually being discussed this week with some of my clients, is LinkedIn actually becoming as, like a Facebook page even. And we were actually talking about this, and I actually asked a few clients and I said, do you know what? In some respects, maybe I should just go back to a good old fashioned letter, personalize it, send it to people so that they actually can see it physically in their hand. I don't know the answer to it at the moment. I think you've got to look at your conversion rates. If you're sending it out, look at your conversion rates, have a look at your Google Analytics, see where the hotspots are on your website, see where people are going on your website. Is there anything that's related to the mail shots that you send out? At the moment, I'm receiving so much stuff from so many people, and actually I'm getting to the point where I'm just trashing it now because it's just overwhelming. Yeah. So I think timing is critical, and I think you've got to have a good story to tell if you're going to do it.
Definitely. And what advice would you give to a business looking to focus on the future right now?
Be fluid. Have a sales strategy that can be quite movable. I think review it constantly, talk to your clients constantly, see what's going on in their business constantly, keep doing your research. Like I said, internet is an open book at the moment. Make sure you belong, you've got, you're looking at trade press. If, in my world, I look at a lot of catering or hospitality trade press. I'm linked into a lot of hospitality websites that give me data and trends and all of that kind of stuff. I think it's literally on a day-to-day basis is just understanding where the business is going at the moment and be fluid with it. I think in the past we were able to kind of put a sales strategy and cast it in stone and forecast for the next year, and it was predictable. At the moment it's so unpredictable. You've just got to keep looking at it all of the time.
Great advice there. Thank you, Jim, for joining us today. It's been so great and valuable. So thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thank you to our audience for watching. If you want to go back and rewatch any of today's webinar, it'll be up on the EM3 Growth Hub YouTube page alongside all of the other previous webinars. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.